Well, it is 8:30. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and if we could get a motion to approve our agenda, please. Motion for the agenda. Okay, motion by Holmes. Second by Armstrong. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, if we could please rise, face the flag, and pledge allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. All right, we are ready for you, JD. I think your microphone is on, but we'll get you up there and make sure.
Looks like he's got his homework over there.
Yeah, sure does. Lots of stuff.
Lots of stuff.
Good morning. It's a fine day in Page County. Does remind me a bit of my years working for the uncle in Alaska. So the engineer update went out yesterday, late afternoon, evening, and we've been dealing with snow and very cold weather. We were out with trucks Saturday from mid-morning to evening on the pavements. Same way on Sunday from about 10 to 3 on the pavements. Trucks only. Yesterday the blades and the trucks were out starting at 7. Trucks ran till about 3. The blades ran out till about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Today, the pavements are froze off. The cold weather helped us in that regard. And there are a few blades running there. A little slow this morning, started normal time. We're going to be burning brush and hauling sand today. And we did get 4 truckloads of salt in last week. Our material shed's down a little past half, but I would like to get it used up. So I've got to I have salt in storage as much as I can handle. And there's a little bit we need to mix up. Our trucks performed relatively well over the weekend pushing snow. Tandem 35 has some wheel issues. I'm waiting parts on that. Have a couple of coolant lines seeping on 43, one of the newer Max. 58 is in one of our single axles and doesn't run very often. So the plow cylinder, the raises in the plow did blow seals, but we have other cylinders and they just swap that cylinder off and they'll do a rebuild. Tandem number 50 through a pressure or fuel rail pressure code, they cleared it up and it didn't come back. So that's didn't repeat itself. So that's who knows exactly why that might be. We're about down to the end of our EWP work. Well, we're complete with all the construction work and just doing paperwork. Last Friday, we did a joint inspection with the NRCS and the Hungry Canyons Director, John Thomas. Looked at number 9 and 10, and they're fine with those. Hungry Canyons signed a big batch of Hungry Canyons paperwork, and we're filing out those jobs. Randy's reviewing files and updating them. And we sent away our last reimbursement last week. Generally, they won't pay more than once a month, but he sent it ahead to Washington, the guy in Des Moines. So we'll just see when they choose to send us money back. We're proceeding with project development on the B61 bridge in southeast part of the county. I did speak with the contractor on the F20 bridge on J20. Spoke with him yesterday evening. He is not gonna move in and close the road on the 15th. He's pushed that back to the 22nd. Function of weather. And given the governor's new health proclamation that came out last week or over the weekend or sometime, has the board consulted with our public health folks with regard to wearing of a mask?
I talked with Jess over the weekend. Of course, the proclamation came out Friday night. Our deadline to get on the agenda is Friday at noon. I think the proclamation by the governor took her and everybody in the Department of Public Health a bit by surprise. Jess didn't really have a recommendation. I think Jess is on the line. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But she said whatever we do at the courthouse, it's up to the board, of course. But given the fact that the clinics, the vaccination clinics for 65 plus are taking place over at the annex, she and her board would like to have masks continue to be required over there.
Over there?
Yeah, over there. So I mean, that was the only conversation we had. We need to, again, get it on our agenda to see, but the governor did do that, Friday evening, and of course our statement has been masks required in the courthouse. So I don't know.
And so I have some guys in the outlying sheds. There's a couple questions about the mask wear at the office or the shop for the secondary roads guys. And we haven't had, I think we still only have 3 that have been positive, and that's been in the past.
Right.
And then also, we'd like to talk about, right now we've been leaving our guys out in the outer sheds to not have have them assembled all in one space, although we're still social distancing for the most part. We're putting hours on machines that wouldn't necessarily need to be if we can bring them in and cut brush and pickups. So anyway, I want to at least start the discussion here.
When we went from a recommended to a mandate, it was driven by the governor's order that just expired. So I would assume it would be proper for us to follow that recommendation and those suggestions out in your area. I mean, I don't know.
We voted to do that if we were following what she had in place. If you had more than 6 feet for less than 15 minutes, you didn't have to wear a mask anyway, according to what the governor had in place before this. So.
Okay. Any other questions for me with regard to roads or other matters?
Just a matter of education in your sand shed. How many loads can you hold in there? Do you know? You say you're about half.
And my material shed is half full.
It's half full.
The salt shed is all the way full.
I see. Okay. Thank you.
Well, it's 3 bins in my lean-to. I have this vision for another hoop building, but it's just a vision, at least in my mind.
So are we releasing them to be more efficient with their work, or we're going to talk about next week? What are we going to do?
Well, you know, we,
Is that on the agenda or?
yeah, we don't have it on the agenda, I guess, but it's operational. I mean, I don't know. We probably ought to get it back on the agenda. If you think that, if you can't wait till Tuesday, we'll call a special meeting on Thursday. We can do it by phone and discuss it. Probably be the best way to do it.
Could Jess give JD some guidelines as far as what, I know the schools are still masking up.
The hospitals are still.
Hospitals are, a lot of businesses are. I guess my thoughts are if the guys are out working by themselves, they wouldn't need one on. If they're close proximity, they should be wearing one. That's kind of how we were before.
But that was when the governor had a mask mandate.
Yeah, before the mandate, that's kind of the rules were, correct?
But they're not there anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're not there.
but
But
that's.
if we're gonna make rules, we're gonna have to get real specific about what they are, there's all kinds of.
No, what I was saying, before she ever did the mandate back in November, the guys wore masks when they're in close proximity during this time, correct? Yes, and that's what they should be doing now, I would think.
Yeah, just using some common sense.
Just staying back to the,
In most office spaces, when you work with somebody every day, they're not wearing masks in office space. The people that work with are they?
yeah, most of the ones on the Shenandoah side are.
And they're working together.
If they're in there by themselves, no, but if they've got somebody walking by or gonna come in, they have their mask on, so, pretty much everywhere, the banks and everything.
Well, I'm not for inefficiency and running the county bar with masks. And it's kind of, that work out there is not real close together work most of the time. And those guys are together every day, it's more than most families are in some situations, more hours, so.
Okay, I do have.
Jess is on the line. Let me ask you, Jess, do you have time to put together some recommendations for a Thursday gathering?
Yeah, I can do that for you guys.
Okay, is that suitable? Should we maybe, 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, have a quick Zoom meeting? Okay, if that's agreeable, that's what we'll do then, Jess. So do you have a preference, 8:30 or 9 o'clock, Jess? Time you put all your fires out when you get there, is 9 o'clock better?
Yeah, no, actually, the earlier the better. I've got a clinic that starts at 9 and it's off-site, so I need to actually be out of here by 8:45.
Okay, so 8:30 on Thursday, okay. Thank you, JD. We'll figure this out, get some guidance from Jess and try to make it as clear as we can. And certainly it is a subject that has many, many questions.
Okay, I have some maps here of the current fiscal year's construction plan. This is just for your information and review as we approach the season to be working on our program.
So I know, JD, you and I have talked briefly about this. Is there a time when, in the next 30 or 60 days, when we should try to put together a presentation, a public presentation?
Yes, there is. We generally do that due before the 15th of April.
Okay.
I'll step you through it here real fast. The green markers are the current year's projects. There's 4 EWP projects on there, P1, P3, 4, and 5. P2 was done in the previous fiscal year. So those EWP projects are all complete. The base stabilization and seal coat 2020 banner at the south end of the county with leaders to a little stretch east of Braddyville and Northborough. That work is under contract, has been partially worked. The other project is the F-20 bridge replacement, under contract, soon to start, weather dependent. And then the other years are, the purples, or the greens and the purples and the goldenrod colors are in other years. So that's just
Okay.
I guess I don't anticipate a bunch of new projects being added to this. We'll use these projects and maybe spread them over. If you can see the golden colored base stabilization on the east side of the county with N14 and J53 and the 6 miles up on J Road in the northeast part of the county, that's really too big of a project to do all together. Just strictly from a funding issue,
Right.
not from a project management. But our previous work in 2017 was 11 miles, and that's about as large of a project, you know, as we'd like to do. And this is a bunch more miles than that. And it doesn't include J55 down at the bottom. Of course, both J53 and J55 are dependent on other construction work in the county.
So can you help, attach some years to your color code scheme here so I can make a note of it? So goldenrod is, green is this year, right?
Green this year.
Okay. And we're considering that 2021.
Correct.
Okay. So what's 2022?
Just a minute here. Is the golden, 2022 is the golden
Is the
rod color, like F Avenue and the seal coats. Are in 20, currently scheduled for that, they can move, of course.
blue?
Let's see one idea. The,
M63 resurfacing?
that is,
And the C Avenue culvert.
okay, we have a purple blue and a lighter blue.
You're gonna have to start staying with primary color. You're confusing me, Jay.
Okay. The fiscal year 2022 is the lighter blue with the C Avenue culvert and M63 resurface.
And what year did you attach to that? I'm sorry.
22.
22.
So correct, the goldenrod is not 2022.
It's not, okay.
That was the air. The blue is 2022.
Okay.
The 280, the purpler blue
The 190th Street,
is the 190th Street Bridge and the 280th Street Bridge in Buchanan Township.
okay, and those are,
Yorktown bridges and what color do you want to call that?
What, the Yorktown Bridge, I call it magenta, but.
Okay, the magenta colors are in 2025. This is a standard color scheme, not chosen by me, but obviously I'll need to redo the color.
So purple is what, 23, 24?
the 190th Street, Middle Tart, the 280th Bridge.
Yeah.
That probably is 24, I'm guessing, but is that correct?
Gold is 23.
Yep. So I would suggest before you have our public meeting, maybe you put
Yeah,
the
yeah,
example
yeah.
of the color and then the year by it, and
that'll
that'll keep us. And I put you kind of on the spot because you're doing this from memory, but that would sure help as we prepare. And then, is there any? I know we have on the agenda the liquor license for River Market 190, and I'm very concerned about that J Road heading north off of Highway 2. That's in really rough shape. Is there a plan anywhere? I don't see that here.
No, there's not a plan at this time. Yeah, the fix to that is grinding it
Grinding
up
it up.
and then put a base stabilization on, but unfortunately, we need more money to get to those sooner.
Okay. But do you have I mean, are they able to maintain that? I tried to go out there Sunday, I think, and I turned around. Can they scrape?
Well, we do.
Okay, because it's pretty lumpy heading north. But, okay, well, I didn't see it on here and I was kind of
Yeah,
curious.
it's not programmed yet.
Okay,
Okay, sorry for the, issue with the colors. I'll have to bring a better set of crayons next time. Thank you.
all right, thank you, JD. Okay. Let's see here. We have two tax abatement requests. One's owned property of 502 Main Street, City of Shambaugh. And we have an abatement request in Shenandoah for property at 1007 8th Avenue. Do I hear a motion to?
I'll make a motion to approve the tax abatements on those two properties.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Armstrong, second by Holmes. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. All right, we'll wait a few minutes, 8:55. I don't think Jody or Lauren showing up. Do you know, auditor? Most start with their names. One's Magenta and one is.
Darren, are you gonna read through this completely for us?
You want me to recite it? I can't do it from memory. Very boring reading.
Mm-hmm.
Very boring. We've got 3 minutes.
How many tanning facilities did you say we have in Page County?
4 to 5.
4.
Depends on-
Okay. How soon, once this is passed, how soon will they get notified of this?
I'll probably start doing, the next month or even this month yet.
Now, will they receive an ordinance ahead of your visit, or will they?
No, probably not, because I can take them along with me, but they're used to having it inspected anyway.
Right.
Just that it's been under the guidance of the state.
Right. Okay, gotcha.
It'll be the same inspection.
Same inspection,
Yeah,
okay.
it won't change it. Look at your calendar and here's some dates.
So when we do get to the ordinance, or the tanning ordinance, do we physically have to read the whole thing aloud? I think we do, don't we, Melissa? On the tanning ordinance, don't we have to read that aloud? Okay, I'm gonna nominate Darren to read it.
Last reader.
So which portion of these is red? I'm going to need larger.
Larger version, okay.
Before the end of the meeting, I did the minutes, I've overlooked them in an email. Do we have those yet, or?
Yeah, they came this morning.
I'll
yeah.
rest them, but I might, if you forget a second to print them, I'll read them before the end of the meeting.
Here, you got it? Yep. Do we have any claims to look at?
There's 3 here.
Oh, we got some.
3 copies.
Oh, 3 copies. There's your minutes.
Oh, what's this? This is still just the agenda for this morning, right? Yeah. Oh, thank you. Okay.
Well, it is, oh, go ahead. You're still distributing mail. It is 8:55, so we'll go ahead and ask for a discussion or a motion on the, discuss and approve the liquor license for River Market 190. And, just for information, I believe, and I want to verify, it's a 3-year license request. Is that correct?
This one? Should be every year,
It's every year?
I believe so.
Oh, I thought it was a 3-year deal.
Yeah, it expires February 28th, 22.
Okay. Thank you. So, do I have a motion to approve the 1-year liquor license for River Market 190? It's the only, county controlled liquor license.
Once it's been approved.
I'll motion to approve it. Okay, Holmes with the motion.
I'll second.
Second from Armstrong. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Okay, motion carries 3-0.
These are the only 2 things to sign. These are the resolutions, and we all 3 have to sign these for the properties, correct?
Yes.
Okay. This agenda I didn't need for anything, do I? Okay, I'll leave here just in case somebody shows up.
Okay.
Those are for you. One's for, the guy have names on them?
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe they did, they don't.
Okay, I didn't think so.
All right, it is 9:00. And I'd like a motion to open the public hearing on the tanning ordinance, please.
So, second that.
Okay, motion by Holmes, second by
Armstrong, public hearing opened at 9 o'clock. Darren, our sanitarian, is here, and he has the distinct pleasure of reading her tanning ordinance. So take it away, Darren.
Okay, I may have,
That's fine. Take it off.
I wasn't prepared for that. Do you need the definitions and everything read in here?
I think by law we need to read it, yes.
Okay, I'll start off. If I have to tag team out, I may have to. The purpose and scope of this ordinance, this chapter provides for regulation of tanning facilities and devices used for the purpose of tanning human skin through the application of ultraviolet radiation. This includes, but is not limited to, public and private businesses, hotels, motels, apartments, condominiums, and health and country clubs. All references to Code of Federal Regulations, CFR, in this chapter are those in effect as of April 30th, 2007. These rules stipulate minimum safety requirements relating to the operation of tanning devices, procedures for obtaining a permit, qualifications for tanning facility operators, and procedures for health departments to provide for the inspection of tanning facilities and enforcement of these rules. Tanning facilities which are in compliance with these rules are not relieved from the requirements of any other federal and state regulations or local ordinances. This is the definitions part. Agency means Page County Environmental Health. Board of Health means Page County Board of Health. Cleansing means to remove soil, dirt, oils, or other residues from the surface of the tanning unit, which may come into contact with the skin. Cleansing agent means a substance capable of producing the effect of cleansing. These agents shall not adversely affect the equipment or the health of the consumer and shall be acceptable to the Department or Board of Health. Consumer means any member of the public who has provided access to a tanning facility in exchange for fee or other compensation, or any individual who in exchange for a fee or other compensation is afforded use of a tanning facility for the condition or benefit of membership or access. Department means the Iowa Department of Public Health. Director means the Director of Public Health or the Director's designee. Exposure position means any position, distance, or orientation, or location relative to the radiation surfaces of a tanning device in which the user is intended to be exposed to ultraviolet radiation from the product as recommended by the manufacturer. Formal training means a course of instruction approved by the department for operators of tanning facilities. Healthcare professional means an individual licensed by the state of Iowa who has received formal medical training in the use of
Phototherapy.
Phototherapy?
Yeah.
Close enough.
Okay. Inspection means excuse me, an official examination or observation, including but not limited to tests, surveys, and monitoring to determine compliance with rules, orders, requirements, and conditions of these rules. Manufacturer's recommendations means written guidelines established by manufacturer and approved by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration for the installation and operation of manufacturer's equipment. Operator means an individual designated to control operation of the tanning facility and to instruct and assist the consumer in proper operation of the tanning device. Permit or permit to operate means a document issued by the department which authorizes a person to operate a tanning facility in Iowa. Person means an individual, corporation, partnership, firm, association, trust, estate, or public-private institution, group, agency, political subdivision of this state or any state or political subdivision or agency thereof, and any legal successor, representative, agent, or agency of the foregoing, but shall not include federal government agencies. Therapy device means a piece of equipment that emits ultraviolet radiation and is used by a healthcare professional in the treatment of disease. Tanning device means any equipment that emits electromagnetic radiation with wavelengths in air between 200 and 400 nanometers and that is used for tanning of human skin, such as sun lamps, tanning bed, tanning booths, and tanning beds. The terms also include an accompanying equipment such as protective eyewear, timers, and hand grips. Tanning facility means a place that provides access to tanning devices for compensation. Ultraviolet radiation means electromagnetic radiation with wavelengths in air between 200 and 400 nanometers.
Darren, do you want me to go for a little bit?
If you could, I might slip out and get a drink.
Okay, inspections. Page County Environmental Health Department shall conduct inspections annually and for complaint on all tanning devices permitted under Iowa Administrative Code 641 through 46 by the Department of Public Health in Page County. Inspection costs of $50 for the first tanning device, $35 for additional device shall be billed to the permit holder up to a maximum of $365 per facility. Inspection costs shall be due upon receipt of payment due. Costs billed will be paid to the Board of Health or its designee. Inspection costs not received within 45 days of the date of billing will be assessed a $25 penalty for each month fraction thereof that the bill is delinquent. A penalty fee of $25 per facility may be assessed for the following: failure to respond to a notice of violation within 30 days of the date of the inspection, failure to correct violations cited during the inspection. Inspections shall include the following areas: proper operation and maintenance of devices, review of required records and training documentation, operator understanding and competency, and the requirement of these rules. Construction and operation of tanning facilities. Unless otherwise ordered or approved by the department, each tanning facility shall be constructed, operated, and maintained to meet the following minimum requirements. The tanning facility shall provide and post the following warning signs and statements that describe the hazards associated with the use of tanning devices. A warning sign in a conspicuous location readily visible to persons entering the establishment. This warning sign shall use half-inch letters for danger, ultraviolet radiation, and quarter-inch letters for all other lettering. The sign shall use red lettering against a white background, be at least 9 by 12 inches, and have the following wording: danger, ultraviolet radiation, overexposure can cause eye and skin injury, allergic reaction, repeated exposure may cause premature aging of the skin, skin cancer, failure to wear protective eyewear, may result in severe burns to eyes, long-term injury to eyes. Medications or cosmetics may increase your sensitivity. A warning sign with the identical wording set forth in 46.51A posted within 1 meter of the tanning device in a conspicuous location readily visible to a person trying to use the device. This warning shall use the same lettering, half-inch letters for danger, ultraviolet radiation, quarter-inch letters for all of the lettering. The sign shall use red lettering against a white background, be at least 6 by 9 inches. Tanning facility shall require each consumer to read the information in appendices 1, 2, and 3 prior to the consumer's initial exposure and annually thereafter. The operator shall then require the consumer to sign a statement that the information has been read and understood. The information in appendices 1, 2, and 3 shall be posted in each tanning room. Anybody else?
You're good, you're good.
Federal certification: only tanning devices manufactured and certified under the provisions of 21 CFR Part 1040.20, sun lamp products and ultraviolet lamps intended for use in sun lamp products shall be used in tanning facilities. Compliance shall be based on the standard in effect at the time of manufacture as shown on the device identification label required by 21 CFR Parts 1010.2 and 1010.3. Labeling shall meet the following requirements: be visible on each unit, be permanently affixed. Labeling shall include warning statement with the words danger, ultraviolet radiation, follow instructions, avoid exposure. As with natural sunlight, overexposure can cause eye and skin injury and allergic reactions. Repeated exposure may cause premature aging of the skin and skin cancer. Wear protective eyewear, failure to may result in severe burns and long-time injury to the eyes. Medications or cosmetics may increase your sensitivity to the ultraviolet radiation. Consult a physician before using a sun lamp if you're using medications or have a history of skin problems or believe yourself especially sensitive to sunlight. If you do not tan in sun, you're unlikely to tan from the use of this product. Recommended exposure positions. Any exposure position may be expressed in terms of distance specified both in meters and in feet or in inches or through use of markings or other means to indicate clearly the recommended exposure position. Directions for achieving the recommended exposure position and a warning that the use of other positions may result in overexposure. A recommended exposure schedule including duration, spacing, and sequential exposures and maximum exposure time in minutes. A statement of the time it may take before the expected results appear. Designation of the ultraviolet lamp type to be used in the product.
I can take it for a minute if you want. Okay, tanning device timers. Each timing device shall have a timer, tanning device shall have a timer which complies with requirements of 21 CFR Part 1040.2. The maximum timer interval shall not exceed the manufacturer's minimum recommendation exposure time by a factor greater than 10% plus or minus of the indicator setting. Each timing device must have a method of remote timing located so that the consumer may not control their own exposure time. Token timers shall not be issued to any consumer in quantities greater than the device manufacturer's maximum recommended exposure time for the consumer. Each tanning device shall incorporate a control on the product to enable a consumer to manually terminate the radiation emission from the product at any time without disconnecting the electrical source or moving the ultraviolet lamp. The operator shall ensure that the facility's interior temperature does not exceed 100 degrees Fahrenheit, 38 degrees Celsius. Condition of tanning devices. There shall be a physical barrier to protect consumers from injuries induced by falling against or broken lamps. Timing devices shall be maintained in good repair and comply with all state and local electrical code requirements. Additional requirements for stand-up booths. There should be physical barriers, example handrails or other means, floor markings to indicate the proper exposure distance between ultraviolet lamps and the consumer's skin. For the construction of the booth shall be such that it will withstand the stress of use and the impact of a falling person. Access to the booth shall be of rigid construction. Doors shall open outwardly. Handrails and non-slip doors shall be provided. Protective eyewear shall be, eyewear shall not be reused by another person. Protective eyewear shall meet the requirements of 21 CFR Part 1040.2 C4. Protective eyewear shall not be altered in any manner that would change the use as indicated by the manufacturer. Example would be straps. A tanning facility operator shall not allow a consumer to use a tanning device if that consumer does not use the device required by the sub-rule. To verify that a consumer has proper eyewear, the operator must ask to see the eyewear before the consumer enters the tanning room or provide disposable eyewear in the tanning room at all times. Post a sign stating that the disposable eyewear is available and the eyewear must be worn. A tanning facility operator shall instruct the consumer in the proper utilization of the protective eyewear required by the sub-rule. Operation. A trained operator must be present when a tanning device is operated. The operator must be within hearing distance to allow the consumer to summon help if necessary. If the operator is not in the immediate vicinity during use, the following conditions must be met. The consumer can summon help through the use of audible devices such as an intercom or buzzer, and the operator or emergency personnel can reach the consumer within a reasonable amount of time after being summoned. The facility permit to operate shall be displayed in an open public area of the tanning facility. A record shall be kept by the facility operator of each consumer's total number of tanning visits and tanning times, exposure lengths in minutes, times and dates of exposure, and any injuries or illness resulting from the use of the tanning device. Any tanning injury not requiring a physician's care and any resulting changes in tanning sessions shall be noted in the consumer's file. A written report of any tanning injury requiring a physician's care shall be forwarded by the permit holder to the department within 5 working days of its occurrence or knowledge thereof. The report shall include the name of the affected individual, the name and location of the tanning facility involved, the nature of the injury, the name and address of the healthcare provider treating the affected individual, if any, and any other information considered relevant to the situation. Defective or burned out lamps or fillers shall be replaced with a type intended for use in that device, as specified in the product label on the tanning device, or with lamps or filters that are equivalent under 21 CFR 1040, section 1040.2, and policies applicable at the time of lamp manufacture. The permit holder shall provide ultraviolet lamps and bulbs which are not otherwise defective or damaged at such frequency or after such duration as any be recommended by the manufacturer of such lamps or bulbs. Contact surfaces or tanning devices shall be cleansed by the operator with a cleansing agent between each use, cleansed by a non-usable protective natural material during each use, or cleansed by the consumer, provided the following conditions are met. The operator instructs the consumer annually on how to properly cleanse the unit. The consumer annually signs a statement stating that the consumer agrees to cleanse the unit after each use. Signs are placed in each tanning room, reminding the consumer to cleanse the tanning unit after each use and stating the proper way to cleanse the unit. And the operator cleanses the tanning unit at least once a day. Any records or documentation required by this chapter must be maintained by the tanning facility for a minimum of 2 years. Records maintained on consumer systems shall regularly be copied at least annually and updated on storage media and other hard drive of the computer. An electronic record must be retrieved as a printed copy. The operator shall limit the exposure of the consumer of the maximum exposure frequency and session duration recommended by the manufacturer. When a tanning device is being used, no other person shall be allowed to remain in the tanning device area. No person or facility shall advise or promote tanning packages labeled as unlimited unless tanning frequency limits by the manufacturer are included as advertisements. Training of the operators. No individual shall begin functioning as an operator unless the individual has satisfactorily completed a tanning program. Training shall include, but is not limited to, the requirements of this chapter, procedures for correct operation of the tanning facility and tanning devices, determinations of skin type of consumers, and appropriate determination of duration of exposure to tanning devices, recognition of reaction to overexposure, manufacturer's procedure for operation and maintenance of tanning devices. Owners and managers must complete formal training approved by the department. All owners and managers trained after December 31st, 1997 must satisfactorily pass a certification exam approved by the department before operating a tanning facility or training employees. For operators trained after December 31st, 1997, owners and managers are responsible to train operators in the above topics and also provide review as necessary. Training programs shall be allowed by the department and include final testing. Operators shall be questioned during inspections as to the level of their understanding and competency of operating the tanning device. Proof of training for both owner managers and employees must be maintained in the tanning facility and available for inspection. For operators trained after December 31st, 1997, the employee record shall be the original tests which bears the signature of the employee, date and statement signifying that all answers have been completed by the employee without prior knowledge of the scoring key. Operators shall be at least 16 years of age. Operators shall complete the required training and testing every 5 years. Promotional materials. A tanning facility shall not claim or distribute promotional materials that claim that using a tanning device is safe or free from risk, and that the use of the device will result in medical or death benefits. The only claim that may be made is that the device is for cosmetic use only. Requirements for electronically controlled devices. Electronically controlled facilities are those facilities that rely on electronic means to monitor consumers. Entry into the facility is allowed by card only. 2 individuals may not enter under the same card. The card is specifically advised activated for tanning use if the facility offers both activities. Police and all emergency services will have access to the facility through a key box located outside the entrance of the facility. The tanning unit will not activate if the card is not programmed for tanning. The card will not activate if two individuals are in the tanning room. The consumer must sign a tanning agreement which states the number of minutes per session that the consumer agrees to wear protective eyewear, and if the consumer will cleanse the unit after tanning, and that the consumer is aware of the emergency access to each room. The card will be programmed for the number of minutes the consumer is allowed to run. The card may only be programmed for an increase in minutes per session only after the consumer has reviewed and re-signed the tanning agreement. After 30 consecutive days without the consumers accessing the tanning facility, the card will be deactivated and the consumer must reapply to access the tanning unit. The operator will demonstrate to each consumer how to properly cleanse the unit after the tanning, including the top, bottom, and handles. A sign will be placed in each room explaining the cleansing process. The operator will cleanse the unit at least once a day when they are in use. Free disposable eyewear will be placed in each room along with a sign stating that the disposable eyewear is available and the eyewear must be worn. An emergency call button or device will be placed on each tanning unit conveniently located within reach of the tanning bed. The device will allow the operator or emergency personnel. During annual inspections, the inspector may ask the consumer about any of the above processes. Inspection variations and injunctions. The agency shall have access at all reasonable times to any tanning facility to inspect the facility to determine if the chapter is being violated. A person who operates or uses a tanning device or tanning facility in violation of this chapter or any of the adopted pursuant to this chapter is guilty of a simple misdemeanor. If the agency finds that a person has violated or is violating or threatening to violate the chapter, that the violation creates an immediate threat to the health and safety of the public, the agency may petition the district court for temporary restraining order to restrain the violation or the threat of violation. If a person has violated or is violating or threatening to violate this chapter, the agency may petition the district court for an injunction to prohibit the person from committing a violation or threat of violation. So on application for an injunctive relief, a finding that a person is violating or intending, threatening to violate this chapter, the district court shall grant any injunctive relief warranted by the facts. Enforcement. The agency shall state the following steps or use county ordinances or any other applicable ordinances, resolutions, rules, and regulations or enforcement of these rules as necessary. Cite each section of the Iowa Code, this ordinance, or rules violated. Specify the answer in which the owner or operator failed to comply. Specify the steps required for correcting a violation. Request a corrective action plan, including a time schedule for completion of the plan. Set a reasonable time limit not to exceed 30 days from the receipt of this notice within which the permit holder must respond. The agency shall review the corrective action plan and approve it or require that it be modified. In cases where the permit holder fails to comply with conditions of the written notice, the agency shall send a regulatory letter via certified mail advising the permit holder that unless action is taken within 5 days of the receipt, the case shall be turned over to the county attorney for court action. County infraction. A violation of this ordinance shall be a county infraction pursuant to Code 331.307. Penalty. A person found in violation of this ordinance shall be assessed a civil penalty of $750 for each violation, and for each repeat violation, a civil penalty of $1,000. Repealer. And all ordinances as part of this ordinance in conflict with provision of this ordinance are hereby repealed. Serviceability clause. If any section, provision, or other part of this ordinance shall be judged invalid or unconstitutional, And adjudication shall not affect the validity of the ordinance as a whole or any section, provision, or other part thereof, not adjudicated invalid or unconstitutional. Amendments. The regulations and standards set forth in this ordinance may from time to time be amended, supplemented, changed, or repealed. No amendment, supplement, change, or notification shall be undertaken without prior approval of the Page County Board of Health. So there's a typo.
All right.
They'll, no, I'll note it. It's just making sure it says Page County. Amendments. The regulation and standards set forth by this ordinance may from time to time be amended, supplemented. I'm sorry.
I think you're done.
Yeah, you are done.
Well, if we ever do this again,
Give you more.
I think I'll shorten it up a tad.
Well, say that'll put Sominex out of business. Any comment from public, either online or in the room? Hearing none, I'd ask for a motion to close the public hearing at 9:26.
I'll make a motion to close public hearing.
I'll second that. Motion by Armstrong, second by Holmes. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Public hearing is closed. Now I would entertain a motion to discuss and approve the waiving of the second, third reading,
First and second readings.
first and second reading.
I'll make
Well,
a motion to approve.
Well, we just heard the first reading.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve the waiving the second and third readings.
I'll second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0.
I'll make a motion to approve the ordinance.
Okay, motion by Armstrong to approve the ordinance, second by Holmes. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 3-0. Thank you,
Hey,
sir.
thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry you had to listen to that.
Thank you.
You bet. See you, Darren.
All right, we are running a little bit behind, but I think we can catch up here pretty quickly. Discuss and approve NACO membership. Did you guys have a chance to? read?
I make a motion to approve the NACO membership for Page County.
I second that.
Motion.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, we have a motion by Armstrong, second by Holmes. Any other discussion?
I just wanted to ask, I read over the pamphlet, what are we getting for it exactly? They're gonna lobby for us, what?
A number of things. They'll lobby for us. Probably the most outstanding thing is the education availability. In that first year membership, it includes at no charge anybody on our staff can attend any of those seminars, whether it be secondary roads or treasure. It's a collaboration with counties all over America. In fact, I think ISAC really recommends it, and Iowa has a huge participation. We used to be members years ago, as I understand it. But the good thing is their virtual summit, or their summit this year is virtual, there's no travel, everybody can have access to it.
And the cost is $450,
Yeah,
right?
per year, yes.
Per year.
And normally you have to pay for those sessions, for like next year, I think the membership won't include the free session registration, but the first year does.
We can try it out here for free, see how we like it.
Yeah,
Okay, I just wanted to more clearly understand what it was.
sure. So we have a motion second, all in favor of
Aye.
aye? Aye. Okay, so NACO, we'll send that in and, again, once we get registered or invoiced, then they'll send out kind of their agenda for their April virtual or late March virtual meeting. Yes. Yep, I sure will. Okay, discuss video resource deficiency for Zoom recordings. I know this has been on the agenda 3 or 4 times. I just wanted to add some additional information, if I could. The Iowa, or the ICIO, it's the Iowa Chief Information Office, a number of months back, at the recommendation of the state, provided counties free of charge some additional protection against cyber attacks. There have been attacks of counties and municipalities in Iowa dating back several years where ransomware has been requested and required to unlock data. So in response to that, the Iowa Chief Information Office developed some special software for counties to to protect from ransomware and also to protect the integrity of elections. It was kind of multi-purpose, as I understand it. And as a result, the bandwidth, which has been an issue on video, is really suffered from this. I wish I'd have known when we started recording the Zoom meeting and putting them out on YouTube that it was so laborious. I had no idea until we got into the long meeting and learned that that was kind of the way it happened. I mean, that was normal to be timed out, and it's just not very compatible with all these filters. I know Solutions has been called in to try to find a way around it, because the bandwidth coming in from MediaCom should perform better than it does, but these filters are not allowing it to. So there have been discussions between Solutions and the ICIO office and our technology team, and we just truly have a resource issue, and that's why until we can solve that, we will not be able to put video up on our county website. But I know, Jacob, you'd mentioned you wanted to do that, and you knock yourself out. That's great. The audio version will be actually on our website from each of these Zoom meetings. So is there any questions, or that was just some additional information?
I'm getting that up there. I'm working on trying to record it online through Zoom, but that didn't work last week. I need to know, I talked to Corey after that when we figured out it didn't work when I said it was recording on here, where to plug in. This is a policy question I had, how this works. KMA plugs into audio. If I could plug my camera into the audio, then we'd hear our microphones. It would be a lot better video to have wouldn't be echoing so bad. Sure. I need to know, I thought it'd be a big deal and have that checked out, but he acted like I needed to talk and discuss whether or not I.
Well, actually, Corey works at the pleasure of the board direction. The board is directing him to do audio. So you're welcome to do, KMA is no longer using that, but if you would have noticed, there's an impedance issue, so they had to build a box to get the audio. It's either undermodulated or overmodulated, I'm not sure what, but it wasn't good, clean audio. So they built a box that comes out of that. I think it's probably an unbalanced line on the back of that speaker. And why don't you give KMA a call and ask them what that box is, so you can go get that and run it.
But no, it won't work. Plug it in wherever the mic jack comes out or something.
Probably not without that box, because it's either going to be too faint to hear. In all likelihood, it's going to be overmodulated.
Well,
it's coming out of an unbalanced line.
If that's the case, so as a board of supervisor member here, I can't ask the IT guy questions on where to plug in.
Oh, you can ask him questions, but you can't direct him you can't task him to download things for you to accomplish the goal that, of video recording.
Well, that's the next question here. It's not going to do it this week, but I was able, it wouldn't record on the other computers that I haven't tried, but it did on this one. Am I able to use this for anything other than just viewing the Zoom meeting?
Oh, you can use it however you wish. I mean, for
where
county business
in the meeting or what? I mean, is it? I don't even know how the computer has a password. I don't know what that is, or
well, he should have I don't know if it's turned off every week. He turns them off, but each one has a username and a password.
Is this considered to be my county business computer?
Yeah,
or not my personal, not whoever wants to use it, or?
Well, it's in your custody and care, so however you see fit to use it.
I'm just clarifying. So if I recorded it to this computer, then I could take it and upload it off of this computer home somewhere.
The Zoom meeting feature to record has been disabled. Because
for even people in the public, or?
Yep, because we utilize that as a county resource for our boards that are directed, like Conservation Board use it, VA use it, Public Health use it, and we don't have permission from all those boards we don't know what they're.
Legally legal, any public meeting in Iowa to record the meeting.
Yeah, that's fine.
All Zoom meetings everywhere.
But we don't have we don't have, it requires extra bandwidth, as I understand it, to do that record feature, because it crashed last week. When he had recorded it, you recorded it on your machine, it crashed, it timed out multiple times. He was here till late in the afternoon, and it just, the bandwidth issue that it takes to download that from Zoom on, because it's going to the Zoom cloud initially, is where it goes. And then it has to be retrieved back from that. And the bandwidth in this building, it's a resource.
And I'd asked to use that on my own internet off the cloud. That wasn't possible either. You could pull it down off the cloud outside the courthouse.
Yeah, and the reason that is that the Zoom is well, the YouTube, I think you were asking for the YouTube password 2 weeks ago.
Well, that's so I could upload to the same YouTube channel that we were already using, just to do the service outside the bandwidth problem. But even without that, if it was in the cloud, it was there. And if I pulled it off somewhere else, it wouldn't affect our cyberware or anything here.
Oh, that's true. Although the board, we had a meeting, it's a democracy.
Yeah.
Do we want to do video? Do we want to do audio? The video is problematic. We voted 2-1 last week to do audio only. If you wish to do the video.
I'm just trying to make it, I don't know why, just help me in any way we could. It hurt me.
I would suggest maybe call KMA and ask them about that audio box that they use that comes out of that back speaker. Because I don't know what, I'm assuming the engineer there probably. Okay. Okay. All right, it's 9:36. Sorry, we're a little bit late. We have a group from Samuel. Is Sheriff Palmer coming?
He said he would, but I expected he did not come here.
Okay.
He is running just a few minutes late. He was having some vehicle issues.
Oh,
so he's down, I think, Shores, or he's on his way from Shores to here, but he was having some vehicle issues this morning, so he's on his way.
Okay. Well, we have Sid and Greg, and you brought another. You guys can do it as you wish. If you want to pull the table over and share a microphone, or if you want to stand at the podium, it's up to you guys. Pardon me?
Have each one introduce.
Yes, yeah, have each introduce yourself if you would, please. Pardon me? Oh, if you don't mind, we're going to take a 5-minute rest drink break. If we can, then you guys can kind of get settled with the table. I can understand. Okay, very good. Thank you. So we're on a 5-minute break.
Yep, you're right. How did he know?
So it wouldn't start? His
I have no idea. Today's the day off, and it shouldn't make you have a problem with that. Shouldn't, you were there.
So Jacob, I'd call, I don't think it's probably an expensive box, but it's an impedance, it's probably an unbalanced line, or a balanced line, and going into that takes a difference, so you gotta convert that somehow, and again, it's not hard, I don't think it's expensive.
John or who, or just like, or be somebody actually KMA.
I would call KMA and ask for Mark Brock, the engineer, or Ryan and the team, and see what, because they would have cables that they could make up and, so.
That copy, you were not here in October.
No.
Share, so I want to make sure you do have your various. Little background, credentials, past projects, post projects.
What?
Oh. Tell poor Alan's microphone's on.
You are sharing that.
We are sharing it with the world.
Yeah, the world. I thought I heard. That's why I only put it here. So.
Yeah.
I missed a good one.
Your microphone was on.
Oh, sorry about that. I thought I hit the button. Well, you learn something every day. Nothing like a Zoom recording, huh? Yeah, some things you do once. You gotta come knock on the door, Chuck.
Well,
around.
Yeah, I didn't know what was going on, Jake can figure out.
I
what-
could hear him.
Well, that'll give some good fodder for the newspaper.
Well,
Oh, wait, they're not on, really.
yeah, they're still there.
Are they there? Okay, good. Yeah. Hi, Heidi. Okay. She's almost back.
All right, excellent call, not taking your microphone.
Yeah.
for the rest of it.
I didn't think it would reach that far.
Did you hear?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Blush and all.
At least I
Did
didn't,
you see the speed?
no, they knew it was me. They saw yours.
Here.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, well, it wasn't the first silly thing I've ever done, believe me. Okay,
Well, I think we're ready. The sheriff will just have to join us when he joins us. He's got, when he gets here, but, Greg, if you could introduce your team. please.
Absolutely. Good morning, Page County, and thank you for having us today. My name is Greg Wild. I'm a business development manager with the Samuels Group in our West Des Moines office. I can take that off just a little bit. And with me today are a couple of team members. One you have met already before, Sid Samuels, who's the president of the Samuels Group, and a new member that you have not yet met, and that is Shelley Rowe. Shelley is our marketing director and is the person extraordinaire who has the answers when it comes to pre-referendum services, communication, and helping patrons really understand and make valued decisions when it comes to referendum documents.
Can you repeat Shelley's last name?
Her name is Shelley Rowe, R-O-W-E.
Oh, R-O-W-E.
Is that correct?
Thank you.
Yep. And again, the whole intent of today's discussion is to further our conversation that started last year. We began with helping you understand that we provide a variety of services, but really where we start is with assessment of your jail detention facility, and then begin to look at options and compare options and help you make some decisions as to what is in your best interest if the future unfolds. So we have also sent ahead a proposed professional service agreement. I think I sent it to all of the supervisors and including the sheriff for you to review prior to this discussion. And this really is a discussion. It's not a presentation. We're not here to, a big dog and pony show. We'd like to, we'd like this to be more of a conversation. Sure. So at any point, if you have questions or you would like to inject something or ask something, please feel free to do that. Okay. And one other point that I will mention, and that is the fact that USDA, through their Rural Development Office, does make available some grants as well as some loans. And I did forward
Yes,
that
I saw that.
contact on to Chuck. I just got that late yesterday, but I forwarded it on to Chuck and sent it to the other supervisors. And the reason that I bring it up is you may or may not have an interest in it, but it could help fund your, through the Community Facilities Technical Assistance and Training Grant, it might be able to help fund some of your early assessment planning phases and such. You may even be interested at some point in their direct loan for construction of this project. Right now, their direct loan program, I believe, is at 2 and 8% for 20 years. So the rates are very competitive. I'm not advocating or pushing. I'm just trying to share information and let you know that there may be some things available to help in funding sources. And in particular, the grant from USDA is very timely because the grant entry period ends the end of March. So if you are interested in that, you probably should get after it.
I will, don't worry about sending it, I'm sending it on to the others to review.
That sounds great. So if you would like to visit further, I brought hard copy. Does everybody have a copy of? Yep. So you've got a copy of our proposed agreement. Shelley, would you like to kind of just walk through a brief overview, kind of what pre-referendum communication services provide?
So as Greg mentioned, I work with our clients and helping to communicate.
Hold on just a second, Shelley, move the microphone a little closer if you would, please, so everybody can hear.
Is that better?
Yes, thank you.
So as Greg mentioned, I work with our clients to help them communicate their projects to the community. Really, every client's a little bit different. It's really depending on what their needs are that the communication plans can look a little different. But the first thing I would suggest is that we would get together and talk about your goals and any work that you might have done already leading up to this, just so we have the same understanding. And then from there, we would work together to develop a communications plan that would reach all the different demographics of Page County. A few things that I looked at that I think would work for your county is developing a website dedicated to the project, using some social media platforms, a direct mailing, doing some advertising, which could just be with your local newspapers, your local TV stations, radio, any talk shows that you have, we could get involved with those. And then, of course, your community meetings where, we found that the most success has been when we bring the whole team together. So we have county representatives that talk about the need, and then we will have the architect there to talk about the solution, and then the construction manager is there to speak to the costs associated with the project. So just to kind of give you a little deeper look into what a communications plan could look like, I brought along with us our plan that we did for Dallas County. So this is the plan that we did for Dallas County. Just help you visualize it a little bit better, but really the idea was that we wanted to create a communications plan that would educate and inform the taxpayers about the project and ultimately encourage them to get out and vote. So as you can see, we did a website which was dedicated to just the project, where we talked about the project itself, the need, the proposed solution, the tax impact that the taxpayers would be experiencing, and then we had a section for community meetings where they could learn how they could get involved and have them on their calendar. Then we also had a frequently asked questions page, which we developed basically those questions at the community meetings where people were asking questions or things we heard out in the community. We would put them on this website so that if people were visiting, they could kind of get some education on those questions. We also did we did 3 direct mail pieces with them. We had first a letter that went out and then 2 follow-up postcards. We had printed materials. So we had this one right here was the poster, and over here was a brochure. And then we also had a dedicated Facebook page, which I really enjoyed using in this communications plan because you really were able to see the results of what you were doing. So if we'd make a post, say it was maybe on existing conditions of their current jail, we could see how the people were engaging with that post, if they liked it, if they shared it, if they made a comment. We could also see how many people we were reaching. And, Facebook is pretty much a free tool that you would be able to use. The one thing with Facebook is you have to respond very quickly. You can't let things sit for 2 days. So if people are asking questions, it's important that we get back to them right away. And then we also had a PowerPoint that we used at all the community meetings, or if the sheriff was out and about talking at different interest groups, but we had a consistent look and feel to everything that we were using, and everybody knew it was related to Dallas County vote. So I guess the end result of that was obviously a successful referendum. They had a few failed referendums in front of them, and we were able to change it from a 51.98% yes vote to a 77.6% yes vote. And it really came down to everybody working together. It was the sheriff, the county board, some of the staff, and then our team as well, and the architects. And it really comes down to if people understand what you're trying to do, they're more likely to be supportive.
Question?
Yeah, one of the other efforts that we did was Guthrie County, and this was a community meeting poster that was hung in
Casey's and other locations around. And then a particular brochure that would, again, help explain the project and answer questions, present the tax impact of the proposed solution on that, so people can kind of get an idea of what the potential tax impact is. So, again, the efforts we go through to help educate and inform patrons so that they can make a reasonable, well-informed decision. Huge part of moving these projects from the idea and concept stage to actually reason ground. Make them reality.
I think the interesting dynamic of Essex County was it was the first time that they've been out for a referendum in decades. And the common consensus was, well, this is the first referendum, so we're, it's kind of the sacrificial lamb, and that's not our approach. So we actually hit it head on. That ended up passing at a little over 80%. So to give you an idea of how impactful the work that Shelley does, and it isn't, we're kind of hitting this presentation that's kind of backwards almost. There's a lot of work that leads up to the opportunity, and that's really, we've put together this professional service agreement, and really, I was going to walk through that with you, give you some idea on the costs, the services that are provided, and really kind of the step process to get to the point where your name's on top of that, and you guys have come to consensus, and this is what you want to do for the taxpayers and put it out there for referendum. So with that said, any questions in regards to our communication plans or how we approach our referendum process?
It looked to me like there's quite a range of offerings in that plan that is kind of a la carte, it would appear. Can you give us any data or history on counties you've worked with and the level of participation in that communication plan? How varied that's been, if it's been, full package, parts of it, and what the result has been?
I would say from a communications plan, we have been pretty much 100% all in with Facebook, web page building, all of that. And the reason why we give it to you kind of in a la carte is that you may have somebody in the county that you may have a Facebook page already that you want to work with, or you may have a website that you've already created that you would want to work with. If you don't, Shelley has the expertise. She physically does it. And so it all lies with her. And what we do on the communication is just put budgets together, and then we charge on a basis towards those budgets. So that's why we break it up into kind of an a la carte. Is we're not positive what the county truly needs yet, because we're not there. But if you need it all, here's what the range of those services could be. If you need part of it, if you need supplementary, we have done that with different nonprofits as well. As they were looking at fundraising and things that Shelley was able to put together. So she didn't do the full communication plan, but with the county work that we have done here in the state of Iowa, I would say all of them that we've been involved with, we've done the full.
Okay.
Can I add one thing to that?
Sure.
So one benefit of having like a separate Facebook page though is that all of your information is contained. It's mixed into your county website. People have to search. Sometimes stuff is buried down in your feed. I don't know how active you are on your Facebook page, but it's a possibility that happens too. So just to be aware of that situation.
Okay.
And we'll talk through that as we get to those stages where you're ready to do something like that. Like I said, there's a lot of work to get there. But once we get to that point, we want to have that discussion further, then we'll establish your communication plan. We'll put estimated cost to that, and then you can vote and determine what it is that you want to do and what you want to spend your dollars towards.
Okay.
So if we start, go ahead.
I'm just thinking on the side of that, we have the jail inspector come to the board of supervisors. On the actual state of jail inspector.
He has not come to us. We see his reports. He works with Lyle, and has he been here yet this year?
Not yet this year. He had some medical issues himself, so he was behind. His inspections, but we usually see him in February, and every year he tells us the same thing. It's in the report. I will close what he says here. Basically, it's outdated. It doesn't serve the needs of the citizens of the county.
Would he put together what would for Since he wants to say that, he won't say what our size county
State
means.
jail inspectors, and their office does not put together what would be the,
Does it say what doesn't though, I guess, so we know by what he says we don't need, then that would tell us what maybe we do need.
that would be something, that, cause they, Delbert and I, Delbert Long is me. We talked just about this. Anytime we would have to remodel anything inside, we would have to meet the current needs. That means that everything has to meet all of the standards as far as separation, misdemeanors, felony, pre-conviction, post-conviction, transgender, and all the other mental health things that that can be. Just talking over the last 12 years of the sheriff, companies such as Samuel Group at our winter school, they pretty much have said you would not meet the needs of the building you have. You would have to start over. We're not handicap accessible. In the jail per se, we have a couple cells that are, but the jail itself opened up in 1936. I mean, as a cell were used at that point,
Well, can you, when we speak, if everybody could use that handheld microphone, it would help our audience on Zoom. If, and I'm sorry to do that to you, but.
I apologize for being late. We had, I had vehicle problems from 7:40 this morning. I was trying to start a full bracket on. But didn't like to start, so.
No problem. But yeah, if you could just use the mic when you're answering a question.
Do you have any other questions?
Because it looks to me like that's kind of what he says we need is kind of what the first part of this is about. The 1A and B.
It is to a level, that is a deeper, so what you get each year is a letter that, from the inspector that kind of gives you the current deficiencies in regards to your existing facility. So we review those, we actually have copies of those letters. But really what we do is take a deeper dive in your true analysis of what you need today and what you need into the future, because you don't want to build, essentially you don't want to build something that meets today's needs and 5 years down the road it doesn't, right? So when you look at our proposal, it really kind of steps you in some different phases, and that's why I wanted to talk to that. We came to you originally as a construction manager, and that's what we have done for these other counties. We set in and work as an owner's representative during the first phases of this and working with architects to come up with your phased planning. We put costs associated with that as well as far as real-time building costs. And so in that first area for $15,000, it defines generally what activities that we would do working with an architectural firm and coming up with the actual cost. So when let's say you decided to continue to move forward and you went to referendum, we have real-time costs that we can provide you so that when you go out for referendum, the amount of money that you're asking from the citizens and they vote yes for that, you have adequate funds to build the facility that you started designing. In we'll call it the 1C area. So as a construction manager, lots of times what we do is put together an RFP for architectural services, and we go out to different architectural firms and secure an architectural firm to help with the study. We also have in-house architecture that we can do that exact same work. And because we're working on the construction management side, we feel there's some efficiencies in that. So typically when people ask me, and I've met with you before, I said that it's anywhere from $35,000 to $40,000 typically to hire an architect to put together the documentation for the feasibility study, for the plans, everything necessary for us to determine what it's going to take to go to a referendum. So I've identified in there with our own architectural side the items that we would be doing and the costs associated to that. If you don't feel comfortable for whatever reason for us bringing in our own architects, then as part of our original fee, we said that we would put our fees together and go out and find an architectural firm for you. So it's totally up to you as to what you want. We're offering that service. You can elect to take it, you can elect not to. We think there's some value there, but we'd say it, I'm prejudiced towards my own people. But-
25,000 for that one C and D, what you're
Yeah.
doing there, but then to be the CM, you're wanting 3.5 to 4.5% of total cost.
We'll get there. We want 15. So if you look at the very beginning, the first page, it's 15 plus 25 if you engaged us for all the services.
And then plus if you get that 3.5, 4.5%.
Yeah, we'll get there in a minute. So once you've got to that point, what we do is we present to you at the completion of this work, we're going to provide you with the study. We're going to provide you with the solutions. So we've done a pretty deep dive into what your needs are. We've come up with a solution in regards to what we feel that would work for today and into the next 20 years is the goal, is to provide adequate space for that, or a master plan. So in the example at Dallas County, because they were in such a growth mode at Dallas County, we built one pod. Their master plan has a design for 3 more pods. Well, rather than going out and passing a referendum to build 3 additional pods at this time, it didn't make financial sense. So what we did is we built the one pod with the anticipation that when we looked at the study in 10 years at their current growth rate, they would be in a position in which they would have to go back out for referendum to build a second pod. But what we did is we put the burden of that growth into the future with the understanding that we had master planned for it. If that makes sense. Similar to your needs, similar to Guthrie County. So when we look at Guthrie County, one of the things that they have is an opportunity to expand in the future for some additional beds. That meets that long-term goal if it's needed. So everything has been master planned at the point of prior to the pre-referendum. It's reviewed with you so you understand what the logic is and what the game plan of that is. And then in addition to that, we put together real-time construction costs so that you understand what the cost would be today. If you were to wait, what the cost would be into the future. We go through all of that through that study. So at that point, you have a decision to make, and that is, do you want to continue to pursue something or not? And if you do, that's when somebody like Shelley would get involved. And that's where we come into that next phase of the communication costs. And there, again, the reason for the range is simply by how much do you need and what do we need to do. And you can see there the deliverables that would be associated to that. In the contract, the one thing it says in there is that you vote for each and every one of these. So before we would go and start doing something like this, we would be back here, we would have presented the plan, you would have voted on the plan to accept it, and then you as a county board have to determine if this is something you want to continue to move forward with or not. And if you choose not to, you owe us nothing. And then if you go further back, you go to the next page, it talks about post-referendum. So provided the referendum would actually pass, we would have to hire an architectural firm, you would have a construction firm on the site as well. And these are ranges that you could expect in regards to those costs.
Does your cost of plans, if you do it, that's on top of this percentage, that's a separate build item?
Say that again?
If, to draw the plans up, you said 25 to 40,000, something like that.
You would pay an architectural firm after the referendums. They would take that master plan or that plan that you put together for a referendum, and then they would charge you in that neighborhood of 8%. Some may be more, some may be less, but that's an average range.
So the $5 million jail would be $400,000.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
For what?
Just the architectural side of it. So they would have, they would have the plans, the engineering, all the items needed to construct it.
So that would be you or somebody else?
Yep. Yep.
And so you're, just for a little more clarification, that 8% is based on the history of what you guys have done. That's kind of what the market is.
Right. We have done architectural for this service, and we have hired architects, or the counties have hired architects to do that. So whether you hired us or somebody else, realistically, you're gonna be in that neighborhood.
Okay. And then to be kind of a project manager, construction manager, that 3.5% to 4.5% typical fee.
Very much.
Okay.
And so we have a fairly proven track record. You know, so far we're undefeated. We're at 3 of them. We don't get into these to get to do it once or twice. We're 2 or 3 times we get into it to do it once. And I think we've done a pretty good job, and our resume would speak for that. But I think the most important thing, if you talk to those references, would be the personal connection that we have. And from this point to your referendum, it really becomes, both Shelley and I, you see a lot of us. And we attend those meetings, we meet with the public. At Guthrie County, I remember going into one of those community meetings and a farmer coming in with his tax statements. And if you noticed on the back of that one brochure, there was a tax impact table. He wasn't leaving there until him and I sat down and went through his entire tax impact. And so having that kind of a personal connection to taxpayers, giving them thoughtful communication, accurate communication, being able to substantiate the communication, you know, this isn't the easiest thing for people to understand. And when you're asking them to pay or increase their taxes potentially to pay for a facility to house people they don't necessarily appreciate, that's not easy. So having an effective track record and having that communication with those communities, I think becomes pretty critical to the success of you as a board of supervisors. And the reason why we step it the way we do, so that you understand what you're getting into every single time. We don't come back to you and say, by the way, we need more money for this or more money for that. We simply say, if you would like us to do this, this is what the estimated cost of that would be before we move on to the next level.
So, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was going to ask if you had questions.
Well, I was just gonna ask, going back kind of to the beginning, Exhibit A, I think that there's probably consensus in this room with our law enforcement, and I think with the board that we're in a position where we're very much interested in figuring out how to build a new jail. I don't think that there's any need in planning to spend a lot of time trying to rehabilitate the other jail.
The only thing I would ask for that is that we still need to spend some time in it. And the reason being is that you're gonna have a taxpayer that's gonna come to one of those community meetings and they're gonna say, why the hell are we not doing what we need to be doing here and saving some money? And we need to be able to look them in the eyes and say, the reason why we're not doing this is because of these reasons. And we have a very strong, compelling argument just with what we have seen so far, in saying it doesn't meet the standards that are required by the Department of Corrections, right? You don't have the ability to classify inmates. We heard that. You as a county are being faced with all kinds of people and with all kinds of dynamics that come into your county every single day, and you're asking the sheriff and the staff to keep them separated, keep them protected, keep employees protected, and do a really good job at it. And your facility right now is not in the position to be able to do that. So all we need to do is to be able to walk through, not spend a ton of time in it, but be able to determine what's truly there. So when the questions start coming, we're able to give those people an accurate answer, and they can completely understand that we went through the process. So when we're asking them to spend $1, it's for the right reasons.
The people in 1936 brought up used cells from Kansas City in 1936. Fared pretty well.
I agree with you. Some different things of that. So if we do get the public access, we can say this is water. You can use water.
Does this at any time then go through and look at, like you had said, it goes through the old, our current jail and sees if that's viable. But does it then, if not, then go through and look and see if like that space is viable or if we should put it somewhere else?
Right. So there's a couple of different dynamics that happen as we take a look at your current operations and determine what the cost of that is today, the cost of transportation, the cost of, I always call it the hotel stay, right? For somebody going outside of county compared to the cost of what you're doing or what you're proposing. So is it costing you more money to build this new facility and all these people in there and do all this? Or is it the same, or is it close, or is it not? And it's a matter of providing you that information so that as a board supervisor, when you say, yeah, this is something that I feel is compelling, we need to present it to a referendum. You have that. Looking at locations of where you'd want it if you chose to do a new facility. Where's that at? What's the cost to develop the land so that you can put the facility onto it? Things like that are all part of our cost and what we do.
I think we might have lost your microphone there, and I'm not sure, do we have access to more batteries? Do you
Can
know?
you,
No, he's on, he's
I
on.
think I'm on,
it's
I just
on,
probably
okay.
stepped back from it.
Okay.
The
Go ahead.
initial 40,000 there, and I'm just trying to understand again. That would be a preliminary drawing or thing, is that what you were talking about, that you could draw?
What they would do is they'd go through, interview with the staff, and determine what true space needs are required for looking at your type of a facility. It would look at your historical average daily populations. It would look at your growth trends in regards to the county, what's going on in the state. And then they would start designing a floor plan that would accommodate those needs, and then show you your ability to grow.
And that's the additional.
That would be part of this original work.
And then the actual architect drawing.
Mhm. That's correct.
Typically in a project of this nature.
Craig, use the mic, please.
Typically in a project of this nature, there's a SD, what we call schematic design stage, which is this early schematic, figuring out what, where, and how, which is about a 25, maybe 30% drawing set. You would just, it's the concept. And that's what that $25,000, that 1C gets. From there, it goes to design development, which is where you really have made those early concept decisions and now flesh out those designs and make sure that it's workable. And then the final portion of that is the construction drawings, where you're actually, architects and engineers are developing the sets of drawings that our construction people will use to actually build this facility.
And if you look at the proportions of what we're talking about, if you use 25% of your architectural cost, that estimated cost in the back, as a county taxpayer or as a county board supervisor, you don't want to spend all of that money with the idea that you may use it to go to referendum. So this is a watered down version of that to get you so that all the homework has been done. The look at the code and all of that is done. You can kind of start shaping the puzzle, so to speak, right, with the information that you have, so that you can ask the taxpayers to support you. If they don't, you're out those dollars. If we did a full-blown design, you'd bid out even more money. So this is somewhat a watered down version, but it does give you a floor plan, it gives you elevations so that taxpayers understand what it is. Now, we want to build a new jail and we want you to spend X dollars to build that. It's actually showing them and substantiating the thought process it took to go from where you are today to where you're going into the future.
Well, I think we're in the pretty early stages of thinking about this myself. We need to talk to, I know some have been needed for a long time, but do we have to bid something like this for another group to come here and give us another, what they would charge to be kind of a overseers or whatever, people suggesting what they think we should do?
To do this preliminary work, no. You don't, but, probably be good to do some thinking, and I believe that your recommendation to reach out to Dean Fisher is probably the first place to see if we have some funding for this first stage, that we wouldn't have to tap into our local option. We've set some money aside for some studies, but what I'm hearing from this group is that we do have an a la carte, and the steps, while different companies may slightly do different twists and turns on gathering the data, the basic steps are the same. You determine a need, then you determine a plan, and then you move all resources toward developing and accomplishing that plan. Is that a fair statement?
It is a professional service, so by state law, it's not required to be by bid or something of that nature. You definitely can talk to other firms. I think you guys may have talked to somebody previously anyway.
Yeah, we had a,
So you've kind of been down, you're doing pretty much what other counties do. So it's totally up to you.
Several local counties very close to us have new jails, build them, have the plans and the whole treatment match.
and that's probably why we're with Samuel's group today, because of the sheriff's experience and what we've learned from those other counties, and I think that's.
I'm not saying they're not the best, I'm just saying, you know, we gotta. But you said very true, taxpayer is not too encouraged about, we wanna have something that works, but making some fancy jail is not for people that are drunk drivers and that are not, is not.
I don't know, some architectural dreams, all
Practical, yeah.
safe, and it looks toward, if we ever get to that point in the county, the possibility of saying, look, what do we need right now? If I could have a jail that would be perfect, and had concrete walls on the outside, and you just put all the
Yeah.
perfect, with drain water,
Yep.
functional, it would be easy to work on.
That would be the
Not
key.
like what we've done now.
So-
I mean, that's what we're at. I mean, I don't-
Right, we design these facilities. We're not designing these facilities to be the fanciest building in town. We're building them to be form and function. We do design, whether it's us or another firm, would design to a 50-year standard. It's a government, kind of a government protocol. I would encourage you to take a look at Dallas, look at Guthrie County.
Because isn't that the existing courthouse you built it on?
Yeah,
To the
that's
courthouse?
exactly right. So it isn't that, you know, when it comes to the cost of construction, we'll go through those with you and what it is that we're estimating. I would tell you this, I don't think you're gonna find a firm that does all of that
I've
and does it
noticed
successfully.
these other jails in other counties, Fremont and Taylor, and that, they all look pretty similar. They're similar in nature. If we found one we liked, and it was the right size, bigger than what we have, even, they paid all this money for all these plans and architectural design. If we had some land that was there, why couldn't we just
Yeah, no,
do that?
you're gonna go through and find out what your true need is for your county.
I think we need to find out what we need to go through. Second thing is, looking at, what the other counties have done, with the exception of Taylor. right?
Kyle, get the mic, would you please?
Talk about this. Okay, so I think looking at what Fremont, Mills, and Montgomery counties have done, there's things in there that maybe should have been done or maybe shouldn't have been done. It just depends on the needs of what your county needs. Talking with my chief jailer, we've discussed this over and over. Once we get to that point, you can look at that. First of all, I think we need to have a needs assessment of what is there. Just for the simple fact that if I was looking at spending $15,000 out of my own pocket for something, I'd want to know what I'm getting. I want to make sure that it's ready for the future with the plans that we have. If we need a new jail, why do we need a new jail? Then I think that's important to the taxpayer. Once we get down the road where we're looking at what we're going to do, that's something else. I'm not a frills person. Everybody that knows me knows I'm not a frills person. But I want it safe, and I want it functional, and it's time. We've put Band-Aids on Band-Aids, and there's just only so much you can do, in my opinion. Now, we'll have some professionals take a look at it and see what they think.
But again, I would repeat, I think it's consensus of many in our community that we're in need of a jail. I don't think many people will argue that point. But, to your point, I mean, yes, this is a marathon, it's not a sprint. And that's, I think important to keep in mind that we want to, whatever we do, we want to do it right. We want to do it well. We want to do it as economically as we can. Unfortunately, any way you cut it, this project's going to cost taxpayers a lot of money. The Guthrie County Jail, what do you have in that, $8 million?
Just about 9.2 total.
Okay. Woodbury County, what did that jail cost?
That's it, 50?
50 million.
50 million. How about Dallas County?
22.4.
22.4. So,
I will
We
tell
just
you.
need to exhaust our options on planning, so we don't get in deep somewhere.
yeah, right, exactly.
And know exactly what we're gonna spend before we get
I would,
or close?
I guess you guys have a fiduciary responsibility to your taxpayers. And if you really look at the contracts in which we sign with you, we become an extension of you, and we carry that same fiduciary responsibility. So if we're out in the community saying that you need this and these are the reasons why, we're talking on your behalf. And I think that is a critical piece of what we're talking about today. It's a matter of going through, getting the factual data, presenting you the factual data. We have worked with different counties and have looked at solutions. I'll use Dubuque County as an example. We worked with Dubuque. And with the first go around, they wanted to build $25 million worth of expansion there. Wasn't going to happen. They're building $750,000 worth of work right now. And so, did they want something bigger? They absolutely did. But what they needed to do is the 750 today. So we may come back to you with some solutions and say, this is your master plan. This is what you need to be really looking at in the future. And here's how you get there. That's where the expertise of hiring a firm like ours is that they're going to help you, guide you to that point. It isn't that we're coming in here and hoping you're going to spend 10 million, 20 million, 50 million. I want you to spend exactly what you need to house the inmates you have and live up to the expectations of your taxpayers. That's what this is about. And so how we go through that is understanding, collecting, and gathering all that factual data so that can be presented. It starts with you, and then it starts with taxpayers if you choose to go that far. The cost of inflation right now, I used to say it was 4% on average. There are years that it's much higher, and there's years that it's much lower. Right now, we're facing shortages. I think I'm hopeful that over time that'll be a blip in the map. But we are seeing 26% increases in structural steel right now. So that may go into the account of how much this costs and the kind of materials that we use. Having somebody that has that real-time data becomes important for you as a board supervisor. But every year we put this off, I will guarantee you your escalation is 400,000. Guthrie County chose not to go. This was 2 years ago, I think. I might be off the year, give or take. But we were going to go in November for a referendum, and we actually talked them out of it because we didn't think it was the appropriate time. We didn't have time to educate. But we added a 4% inflation factor to our numbers because we were going into the next construction season by the time it would be ready for construction. And sure enough, the bids came right in there. So on average, it's about 4%. And I could see you similar size to a Guthrie County. You may be a little bigger, you may be a little smaller. That'll come out as we go through the facts. But if you took 8 million at 4% every year, there's a cost to your construction manager by waiting a year. If you wait 2 years, 5 years, it continues to compound. We'll give you that data so that you guys can make those decisions as to what you need to do.
Today, the first step is to approve the 1A, or do we need to approve 1A and B?
To engage our firm in the 1A, we would start, if you wanted to hire us to do the 1A, what we would begin with is sitting down with the sheriff and your group and putting together an RFP for architectural services.
Okay.
We would send those architectural service RFPs out and help guide you through that process, whether it was interviews and questions and all of that. If you engaged us, so with that said, at some point, you would either engage our firm or somebody else's firm for the second portion. They kind of go hand in hand when you write costs. You've got two different experts looking at this, and there's a cost associated with that.
So we would approve spending $40,000 a day, or okay.
That we're up to, I would say.
Up to.
Yeah.
I would say, I don't know why it has to be today. You know what it is.
No, I'm just asking a question here. I'm not stating a motion. I'm just asking a question.
To engage a firm, I think that's whether it's us or somebody else, I think you're going to be in this level or not.
Right.
Well, it's been an interesting presentation or discussion. I think that it's pretty clear that on board in our county, if a jail is to be built, we do not have the expertise to plan, build, and execute a project of that magnitude. We need some outside help, and, I know you guys have come highly recommended. I know the sheriff and his staff has met with you on a couple of occasions to gather information. We did have a call, kind of a closed call with the sheriff and another firm out of Omaha. And, quite frankly, that call did not go well, didn't leave anybody with a very warm feeling. They weren't that call did not go like that presentation. You need the microphone, I'm sorry, Lon. Sorry, have mine. The other firm that we spoke with, didn't present as good. There were some questions that I don't think got answered, that they have answered, and I would make the recommendation the same group as the one that we would look at in the course of all three of your decisions, but that would be my recommendation at this point. And you guys kind of correct me if I'm wrong, I'm new to all this, but, the other firm that we talked with, I mean, I look at a firm, the lead firm is a quarterback on a team to a mission, and the other firm that we talked with does provide architectural services that may be part of the team. I mean, maybe that's where you get those other, do the RFP on the architectural and kind of have people push their pencil a little bit harder. And but from a planning, a leadership standpoint, I think that's kind of what that was my interpretation when we talked with you initially, when we talked with the other firm, was who do you want to be your team captain? We don't have the expertise to make this happen. So we need. How do we know 40,000 is the number? That's a good deal. Or how do we know that?
I will say this, I think,
Compared to nothing.
I think the 15 is very competitive. And if you wanted to go to RFP, you'd find out what your architectural services were. So if you would like, our firm, if you would choose to do so in the RFP, could respond to the RFP from the architectural side. You could interview that team. You could also interview other groups. We don't have a problem with that. We would lead you through that process, and that's exactly what we did at Dubuque County. If we talked over there to that group, they would give you a pretty good idea of how we presented ourselves through that process. And we interviewed 3 architectural firms, and the numbers were substantially higher than this.
Well, I think I'm hearing a consensus. We want to sleep on this. I did forward the contract to our legal team for review, and they thought the professional service contract was well in line with what they see, and they were pleased with it.
It really does. It's a fairly or I would say it's pretty fluid. It's, do you want to do this? Here's what the estimated cost is. If you want to terminate it, you have the ability to terminate it. We are simply looking at forming relationships. That's why we do what we do. And I would just reach out to Marty over at Guthrie County, or talk to Mike Dixon, the county board supervisor over there. We actually have letters of references and recommendations from those groups and how we handle our business. And I'd suggest that you do that.
All more kids in the Dallas County supervisor.
Yeah. Okay, I know Mark, I'll give it a call.
If you're looking for the leadership piece of it, I think for that first cost there, I don't think you're going to beat it. I don't think you'll beat it from the serviceability, and I don't think you'll beat it from the cost.
Okay. Well, thank you for your time today. I think we'll take this under some study, and I would encourage my colleagues to reach out to those references. In the meantime, unless there's a volunteer that wants to talk to Dee Fisher at the USDA, I will go ahead and contact her.
I think that'd be great.
I worked with Dee on a couple of projects, so she's very easy to work with, and she says there's dollars there, then we certainly want to leverage those. Charles or Lyle, did you have anything you wanted to ask today?
Nope, I think we're good.
Okay,
Do I need a mic for that?
I think we heard that. Copy 10-4.
10.
All right, well, thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Yeah, have a safe trip back.
Thanks.
Okay. All right. Is there any public comment at this
I
time?
had one, I wanted to maybe have Lyle help me with a little bit, but somebody called me about this.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Just real quick, I had a call from Essex this week, somebody very concerned, I think we told you too, about.
The assessor's office?
Yeah,
Yep.
coming without ID and.
I encouraged him to call the assessor's office and speak to them directly about that. Since it was my understanding when I spoke with the assessor's office that that was a contract person doing the assessment. It wasn't one of the two from our office.
Right.
So I did encourage them, or the person to call.
And I'll clarify what I'm talking about. It's called the third party that's doing the assessments.
Vanguard.
In Essex. Had a guy from Essex call me very upset, came to his house, had no ID, no, car wasn't working, just walked up and walked down the street. Asked him to come in his house, to do an assessment, he let him in, walked all through his house, was very upset, the whole thing he was not pleased with. It's my understanding that you do not have to let them in.
No, you don't.
He did not announce that to the elderly gentleman. And so I reached out to Jason and he just kind of fixed that, so keep my badges on, and he was very concerned about what happened. I just didn't know whatever ended up with that. I don't know if he called you or not.
He did call me and I spoke with him. I encouraged him to call the assessor's office, which was my understanding he was going to. I then spoke with Darla at the assessor's office. I believe when the people from our assessor's office, not the contract, go out, they have not only do they wear apparel,
Right.
if I remember correctly, but and the vehicle, sometimes they'll park in a block and make the rounds in the block when they do it. I understand that part. I would encourage all the contractors to have some form of ID that shows maybe I like pictures. Always been a good cartoon and coloring fan, but I like pictures and names on them. That's kind of hard to duplicate. It can still be done, but I would rather see that. He did say afterwards he did think about it and he thought, I don't even know who this person was. They came into my house, I let them in, I let them look around. And then after they left, he thought, well, where's their car at? Why don't they have anything that says assessor? I understand that completely.
Right.
Believe me, I've had contract assessors show up at my house and all they did was park on the road, snap some pictures. I was right out there. I was off and running the sawmill and they didn't even stop to ask. They pulled in, backed up, took a couple photos and drove down the road. They didn't even ask to look at anything. I didn't understand that. But, so I complained about that to Peggy at that time and she addressed it with her. I think it's something that.
Just letting people, that letter came out a long time ago and he had forgot all about.
Sure.
The Essex was the next step up there.
Sure.
So just letting the people know this is going on.
Yeah,
And what they do or don't. do.
Hopefully Jason will set something out again. I had a call from a lady in Coin. The car was marked that said Page County Assessor, it had Vanguard or whatever, but it had a magnetic sticker. But the car was parked in front of her house for about 45 minutes. And the individual didn't get out of the car and she was kind of concerned about that. And I talked to Jason, but the individual could have been on a lunch break, could have been, they'll go to multiple houses, then they'll input.
All their information.
If you're in Coin, you might find a good spot where the internet's working good, and then he did his work from there. But yeah, it's good. If any taxpayer has concern about somebody in this assessment, call directly to Jason. He'll take care of it.
And I think he will. And I encouraged the individual from Essex. I did. I said, talk to the assessor. I said, you're very understanding. He'll look it through and he'll make that adjustment, hopefully with the contract people that are out there.
Awesome.
Also on the Board of Health, this is a different topic. So
Thank you. I'm gonna go make sure my vehicle's running again.
Don't shut it off.
Yeah, we did.
needing to hire some more help out there. When is that gonna be on the agenda to discuss that, or how's that?
That's their board that takes care
Board
of
does
that.
that?
Yeah.
We just know whether it's on the okay.
So that board will take care of it. I know that, they've reached out to the Clarinda Foundation, and the Omaha Foundation for some additional resources. Okay. Any public comment? We looked at the claims while we were hearing the ordinance being read. Any announcements from you, Mr. Armstrong? Pardon me? We can't approve the minutes because it's not on the agenda. We'll have to approve, oh, we need to approve the claims. So I'd take a motion to approve those claims.
The claims, go ahead. The minutes, I had a little thing I want to look at.
Yeah, okay, we'll,
Do the claims first.
okay. Do I have a motion to approve the claims?
Approve the claims.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. Now, we don't have on the agenda the minutes.
It's on another page.
Oh, it's on the back page. Oh,
That's true.
okay. I thought it was, okay. When I saw the agenda, I didn't see it. All right, good. So, well, that's good. So Jacob's got some questions about.
My only thing is there in the very first paragraph. Where, set the minutes, sorry, do you not have a copy?
I do.
Oh, this would be Tuesday.
Tuesday?
It just says, yeah, so, yeah. I feel it needs to be a video because it can show how upset people are. I mean, I'm sort of part of it. The video, my main whole thing with video is it's a more complete, or I don't know how to word it right, is the very, it says, second page, sorry, you're right, second page, the top of the back page there. And because it can show how upset people are, I think the video, what I'm trying to say there is that it is a more accurate, you can watch people. So I don't know how to say that, that's representation of a meeting. It's the most accurate because you can see both video and audio, both visual and audio. That's the only problem I have.
Can you make that change then?
That's fine.
Does that represent it better?
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right, any other additions, deletions, clarifications?
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Correction.
Okay, motion to approve the minutes with the correction.
That is Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah, your motion is for both the conference board and our regular board meeting on Tuesday. Okay, we have motion, you second the right, Jacob, okay. Any other discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye?
Aye.
Okay, we got three to zero. Before we adjourn,
Go
go for it.
I'm just thinking you're on this jail thing. And compiling any more, we're gonna do some calling and thinking on this, so we're just gonna, some point in the future, put it on the agenda again, do some research here.
Yeah, and what I suggest is that, we each do our own individual research, whatever questions are outlined for us. You know, for me, I'm gonna call the references. You know, I did talk to the other firm, by the way. I mean, they're not secret. We had a meeting. It's Carlson West Pavandra out of Omaha. And I think they're a reputable firm without question. But the meeting, we had Tony on the call, Lyle on the call, and I was on the call. We had asked for some information, and they had 3 people on there. And the one gentleman who is very technical spent 40 minutes talking about his accomplishments. It had nothing to do. And so we just kind of like, but I think that they did round back up. Some other people called, apologized, and, you know, this guy's just really passionate about what he does. And they apparently have worked on some projects with Samuels as the architect. So I think that RFP idea for me would resonate when you get into those big expenditures to put it out and get a lot of feedback and more choices and keeps everybody honest. But I think the I know Lyle and Tony and Charles are really impressed with these guys. They've been speaking with them at Sheriff Association meeting probably the better part of the last year. And, they seem to really meld well together, but
I had some calls this week on the, facility, juvenile detention, or whatever, the shutdown.
Clarinda Academy.
Academy. People brainstorming that for some sort of a jail space, city hall, moving, Penn, Iowa, throwing ideas,
Yeah, sure.
just ideas, there's all kinds of ideas out there to just look at. It'll take a lot of brainstorming.
Well, and that's the reason why I stated none of us had the expertise. There are too many balls to look at. Location, size, whether 911 goes in there or does not go in. I mean, there are just a million different things. And then things you can't really control, like what happens to the constriction of courts. If they re-energize in the legislature to shrink the number of courts, where do we stand? We have a district court judge domiciled here. However, the majority of fourth district judges prefer the interstate and might want to pick Fremont counties. I mean, what happens if the court closes? So there's just a lot that you can plan for and a lot you can't plan for, and it really gets complex fast. So, the Clarinda Academy, on that topic, I just like to publicly say our condolences to the people impacted. I think somewhere north of 100 jobs are in jeopardy, and I get different estimates on how many of those are Page County employees, but people I've talked with leads me to believe that maybe up to 60% of the 100 coming directly from Page County. Also, we forgot last week to congratulate our conservation Rat Park being selected as the best fishing spot. And then, if you have any business coming to the courthouse today, please stop in and wish Kenna Herbert in the treasurer's office a happy birthday. If you're really nice, she might even give you one of her famous sugar cookies. I don't know, can't promise that. So anyway, with that, did you have any announcements? Okay. Would have a motion to adjourn, then, please. So I'll second that. Okay, motions to adjourn. All in favor, say aye. Thank you for joining us.